Hey, you. Welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today, we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence. He did this, and she came back crying. 101% works. Let's get into it. I'm going to tell you something most men never hear until it's too late. The moment you stop chasing her is the moment she starts losing control. You think she left because she stopped caring. You think she moved on because you weren't enough. That's the story your ego tells you at 2 a.m. when the room is silent and her absence feels louder than her presence ever did. But here's what you don't understand yet. When a woman walks away, it's rarely because her emotions vanished. It's because the dynamic shifted. Women are emotionally responsive creatures. Not weak, not irrational, responsive. She reacts to energy. She reacts to certainty. She reacts to how she feels in your presence. And when you start overgiving, over-explaining, over-exting, over-proving, something inside her slowly recalibrates. Attraction doesn't die in explosions, it dies in imbalances. When you chase too hard, you communicate fear. When you plead, you communicate scarcity. When you panic, you communicate that she is the prize and you are lucky to be chosen. And the moment that script flips in her subconscious, desire begins to fade. But here's the twist. No one tells you. When you disappear with dignity, not to manipulate, not to punish, but to genuinely reclaim yourself. Her emotional system goes into shock because now the pattern is broken. The validation she grew accustomed to, gone. The constant reassurance, silent. The predictable access to you, removed. And the female mind does not ignore absence. It amplifies it. She starts replaying memories, not the fights, not the arguments, the good moments, your laugh, the way you looked at her when she thought you weren't paying attention, the safety she felt when you were grounded. Emotional memory is selective, and when you stop feeding her new attention, the old emotional highs resurface. This is not about games. This is about power dynamics. The man who stands still while the world pulls at him becomes magnetic. The man who crumbles becomes forgettable. You don't guarantee her return by begging. You guarantee the possibility by becoming unshakable. Because when she senses that you are no longer orbiting her world, she starts questioning why she ever left yours. And that question is the beginning of her return. Now let me take you inside her mind, the part she doesn't even tell herself. At first, she will feel relief. That's the phase most men completely misread. She might smile more in pictures, post freely, go out with friends, appear to be thriving. It looks like she's moved on. And your first instinct is panic, but that relief is not indifference. Her nervous system is just recalibrating. She's processing the sudden absence of your energy, the lack of your predictable attention, the silence she didn't expect. Then comes curiosity. The subtle, almost unconscious questions begin to creep in. Why hasn't he texted? Why isn't he reacting? Why does he seem fine without me? Curiosity is powerful because it's paired with tension. Humans crave patterns. And when a pattern is broken, the mind becomes hyper-aware. She's used to you orbiting, checking in, overextending, seeking validation. Now that pattern is gone and uncertainty begins to ripple through her emotions. Curiosity quickly turns into ego friction. Her pride starts whispering questions she doesn't want to admit. Did I make a mistake? Did I lose something I shouldn't have? Women are wired to value scarcity, emotional independence, and presence that isn't desperate. By detaching, you're suddenly showing her that you are not someone she can control. That creates tension. And tension is the spark that reignites desire. Here's the truth most men fail to see. The woman who seemed ready to walk away starts replaying your moments together in her mind. She remembers your laughter, the way you looked at her when she thought you weren't noticing, the calm confidence you radiated, the sense of security she felt with you. Absence makes her feel those moments more acutely. Those memories aren't just nostalgia. They're emotional triggers that pull her back. But detachment isn't just physical, it's psychological. She notices your energy shift, your focus on yourself, your absence from her drama, your refusal to react to her attempts at testing boundaries. Every time she checks in and sees that you are not orbiting her world, her mind registers it as a loss of control, something that excites her subconscious attraction. And this is where most men fail. They try to fake detachment, they monitor her social media, drop indirect messages, post to be noticed, or attempt subtle manipulation that destroys the effect entirely. Authentic detachment is quiet, confident, and completely unshakable. You don't act for her, you act for yourself. And in doing so, she begins to realize she might have underestimated the value of your presence. The irony is cruel, but simple. The harder you try to make her chase you, the less likely she ever will. The moment you reclaim yourself, the moment you step back without desperation, she starts chasing. And that is the psychology no one teaches men about. A woman's desire is often triggered not by pursuit, but by your absence and self-possession. The question now isn't if she'll notice, it's how long it will take for her mind to circle back to you. When you truly master this, you're no longer a man waiting for validation. You are a force that commands attention effortlessly. And the woman who walked away begins to see that leaving you was the mistake she cannot ignore. Here's where most men completely misunderstand what's happening. Her mind doesn't follow logic. It responds to emotional tension. The moments you created together, the intensity of your connection, and the energy you radiated are like magnets buried deep in her subconscious. Even if she acts like she's indifferent, even if she's smiling for the world, her inner system is reacting. That tension builds every day you stay detached, every day you don't chase, every day you remain unshakable. She begins to notice the gap. It starts small, an unconscious awareness that something is missing. She scrolls through old texts or photos and feels a subtle pull in her chest. She might catch herself thinking about you at odd moments, remembering how it felt when you made her laugh, or how she felt safe just being around your presence. Emotional memory is selective, and absence sharpens it. The mind begins to crave the comfort and excitement it once had with you. Then comes the deeper emotional tension. She begins to replay scenarios in her mind. What if I reached out? What if I had treated him differently? What if I'd appreciated him more? That cognitive loop is fueled by pride and curiosity. Women are wired to resist chasing, but when they begin to question the decision to walk away, attraction reawakens. Your silence creates the friction she cannot ignore. This is the critical moment, the shift in power. When you were available, her system took it for granted. Now, with your absence, her emotional system realizes she was operating under the illusion that you were replaceable, that you would always be there. That illusion breaks and desire returns with intensity. She experiences longing not because she is weak, but because human psychology responds to emotional contrast. Absence makes the heart recognize what it had undervalued. Meanwhile, you continue your life focused, confident, rising above neediness. This is essential. Any sign of desperation, any attempt to control the outcome destroys the process entirely. Detachment works because it communicates self-possession, emotional stability, and value that cannot be bargained for. She senses it, and it ignites something she cannot articulate: respect, longing, and the flicker of desire she thought was gone. Here's the paradox most men can't grasp. She will reappear, not because you begged, not because you coerced, and not because you waited passively. She will return because her mind is now wired to chase what feels rare, powerful, and unshakable. Your absence is the invitation. Your unshakable presence is the bait. Every interaction she attempts will now be filtered through this lens. She tests probes, and feels for signs of the man she once underestimated. Each time she senses that calm confidence, that emotional stability, that unwavering energy, the pull intensifies. She is drawn to what she cannot control, what challenges her subconscious desire. And here's the most important truth. This process is not about manipulation. It is about understanding female psychology, emotional patterns, and the natural ebb and flow of attraction. When you detach correctly, you trigger the deepest part of her mind, the part that remembers intensity, security, and respect. That part cannot stay away for long. By mastering absence and presence in this way, you flip the dynamic. She begins to see that leaving you was not a victory, but a loss. And when desire meets clarity, she will start gravitating back toward you, often with a determination you may have never expected. The key is patience, self-mastery, and unwavering confidence. She is watching, feeling, and recalibrating. And when the timing is right, she will seek the connection she once took for granted. Now let's dive into what actually triggers her return. It isn't your words. It isn't your attempts to explain yourself. It's the energy you radiate when you no longer need her validation. This is subtle, but it's lethal in its effect. When you stop orbiting her world and start orbiting your own, she notices the shift at a level she can't even consciously articulate. It creates a dissonance inside her. The man she thought she had, the man she believed she could influence, suddenly exists outside her control. Her mind begins running scenarios. She asks herself questions she doesn't want to admit. Why is he not reacting? Has he moved on? Did I misjudge him? And with each question, her emotional system tightens. The part of her that once felt safe in your orbit now feels an absence, a void that cannot be ignored. Scarcity. When authentic, ignites desire like nothing else. You aren't playing games, you are simply refusing to chase, and that refusal forces her subconscious to acknowledge your value. At this point, nostalgia begins to intensify. She recalls the moments she laughed uncontrollably with you, the late-night conversations where she felt heard, the subtle ways you made her feel seen and desired. Emotional memory is selective and amplified by absence. The very experiences she once took for granted now carry weight. She begins to feel the emotional tension building inside her, a longing that's uncomfortable, persistent, and hard to rationalize. And then comes reflection. She starts analyzing why she walked away. She examines her own behavior, the moments she could have appreciated you more, the times she didn't fully recognize your value. Pride and curiosity collide, and suddenly her ego is no longer shielding her from the truth. She begins to question her choice. Did I make a mistake leaving him? The answer doesn't come immediately. It builds, grows, and compounds. With each day, you remain unattached and self-possessed. This is where patience becomes your ally. Every man wants to rush, to text, to explain, to regain control, but doing so undermines everything you've built by detaching. She must feel the pull, the gap, and the tension. In order for her desire to reignite authentically, your presence, or rather, your controlled absence, is the catalyst. The emotional contrast creates urgency. Her mind begins to crave the connection she once had and perhaps never truly appreciated. The return is rarely sudden. It's a gradual intensification. She tests. She probes. She seeks to gauge if you've truly shifted. Each subtle interaction she initiates is her measuring the depth of your self-possession. If you respond with desperation, it collapses. If you respond with calm confidence, her attraction deepens. This is why detachment is not passive. It's strategic, psychological, and profoundly magnetic. Eventually, her internal struggle reaches a tipping point. Desire, nostalgia, and respect converge. She realizes that leaving you was not freedom. It was a void. She feels compelled to reconnect because the emotional system that once thrived in your presence now recognizes its absence. And when she returns, it's not simply a whim. It's a response to the dynamic shift you've created. This is the core principle. No one teaches men. Her attraction is not earned by chasing. It's triggered by absence, magnified by emotional contrast, and solidified by your unwavering presence within yourself. Master this, and you control the natural pull of desire. Now comes the final, most powerful truth. Her reappearance is not a coincidence. It's the inevitable result of psychological tension meeting emotional clarity. When you step fully into your own life, cultivate your value, and radiate unshakable confidence, she is forced to confront what she lost. Your absence transforms into a mirror, reflecting the man she underestimated, the security she took for granted, and the emotional intensity she secretly craved. She will feel at first in small ways. A message sent at an odd hour, a subtle comment, a glance or smile if you cross paths. But what fuels her return is deeper. She begins to experience regret, longing, and curiosity all at once. Her mind rewinds to the moments that mattered most. Your laughter, your calm strength, the way you made her feel alive without trying too hard. Emotional memory floods back with more intensity because your presence or your absence now carries weight. Here's the secret. She won't reappear for the man she knew when she left. She will return to the man she now sees in front of her, unbothered, self-reliant, emotionally stable, and untouchable by her past drama. This is why chasing never works. It keeps you trapped in the past. The man who attracts her again is the man who exists in the present, fully alive, fully himself, and completely detached from her need for approval. She will test you. She might flirt, push boundaries, or subtly attempt to gauge if you're still the same man who once gave her so much attention. Each test is a signal that her desire is resurfacing, that her curiosity has become tension she cannot ignore. How you respond defines whether she fully commits, hesitates, or retreats. Calmness, clarity, and consistent self-possession are your tools. The most critical moment comes when she reaches out sincerely. This is not a moment for overthinking. It is not a moment for fear or hesitation. It is a moment to receive her with quiet confidence, knowing that the dynamic has shifted and that she has chosen to return on her own emotional terms. Any sign of desperation erases the effect entirely. Your power is in the balance of absence and presence, tension and calm, mystery and authenticity. Remember, this is not manipulation. It is understanding psychology, the natural patterns of desire, attachment, and respect. A woman reappears because she is wired to respond to energy, absence, and emotional contrast. Your role is not to chase, but to embody a life so full, so unshakable, that she is drawn back to it, not by force, but by the magnetic pull of what she truly desires. Now I want you to do something. Take a moment and calculate this. Your value minus her absence plus your confidence squared. Think about it and leave your answer in the comments. If this video helped you understand the dynamics of female psychology and desire, like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. Your presence is your power. Her return is the reflection of it. Master yourself, and she cannot resist.